Well, everybody, welcome back. I'm back in town. I actually got to go visit the Texas Motor Speedway for a brief visit. I was going to be able to swing a tour of the place, but they were having a NASCAR race this weekend, which is actually happening right now, or I think tomorrow or the next day as I record this video. But I'm going to be back there in a couple weeks, so I'm hoping to have a whole nother video on that. I might even get to drive maybe the rental car on the track, which is something I've never done before, not on a huge bank NASCAR track, that's for sure. But anyway, I got another day or two I can put in on the 68 DIY bodywork in my garage series, and I'm going to start with the cowl. So let's see what I got to do. And so you can see there is, I just scraped up a few little things here. Got some holes here, got some holes here. I don't know how bad this is going to be until I really tear into it. I'm hoping it's not horrible. I did pick up some fresh putty and a chunk of wettable steel from the hardware store. I think I'm going to start is going to rip up all this stuff, clear all that, pull out the windshield wiper type of things, and I'm going to tape up the dash and put down some plastic and stuff to try to keep most of the junk out of there. I'm going to do the same for the engine compartment. Now that this is all stripped down, I'm going to take some Brillo pad or stripping pad on the drill and just clean everything up and start getting up in there. I know I'd like to, since I'm in here, I am going to clean all this up and paint it a nice black when I'm all done doing the welding. This needs work. I need a new hood seal. And there's also these guards that drop in for leaves and stuff. They never came on the Chevelle, but they came on, I think, like Buicks and Pontiacs or the nicer versions of these A-bodies. And I'm also just, I don't know if I'll put those in or not. Not that this car sits in a lot of leaves, but I might do it just to do it, but we'll see. Anyway, back to work. Well, this back window didn't turn out too bad. I forgot to take the cardboard out, so I'm gonna have to pry that out because that gunk really got in there. But a little thick in places, a little thin in others, but it's a solid connection all the way around. And I picked up some other stuff to work on that other corner, but it will be a while before I get to that. I might just peel out the cardboard here in a little bit, get done with that. But this might be a bigger problem than I thought. A lot of this is okay. I've got some dash rust up here, a little bit here. All that's got to get cut out. This has got to get cut out. I peeled this part up. This is the dash, but there's I think that goes right inside the car there. So this will have to be cut out, redone, pretty much all the way across. I mean, I could probably just do a little section, but I don't think that's the right thing to do. I mean, a lot of this is good, a lot of this is not, and I think I'm just going to start cutting and peeling metal up until I don't find any more rust, and then I'm going to make a plan to put it all back together. I know if it's really bad, the idea is just change the whole dash. I don't want to do that, and there is patch panels that are made for here, and I wasn't going to do that, but I might be, depending on how bad it is. If I can just do my cutting and fixing up here and maybe a little bit down here, yeah, that's completely trashed. All right, I have made some progress. I've got quite a bit of this dash part peeled up here. I ended up making little cuts here because this whole thing is a curve and you just can't bend it up. But I had to get it up in the air to find out what I was getting to. But I've gone through and cleaned up a lot of stuff, and I'm feeling a lot better about it. It looks like I can just cut out these sections here, weld a new metal. And I stopped here because this wasn't too bad. You can kind of see that's actually the inside of the car there, and there is factory seam sealer here. I'll put in fresh stuff before I pound it all back down. I did cut this part out, and I did this horrible shape that I'll be painting the Piper on later, but I didn't want to peel all this up and cut it up, so I'll just deal with that, and I got a little bit of work there. But on the other side, I got this part all cut out. I'll just build a new one there. But other than that, underneath look good. And so it's going to get those pieces replaced. I'll put some stop rust under there, put it back down. I am going to cut this lip off and rebuild it. So it's going to be some metal work and a little more bending, but I should be able to start building it up soon, I think. But I think I'm about to call it a day, though. It's almost beer 30 time. I think tomorrow I'll actually start cutting out that base cowl metal and start working on building it back up. Might take me a few days to really get that the way I like it, but you know, got nothing but time, right? It's 3 weeks later and I'm finally getting back to this car. And as you can see, I got a 4-post lift. I was able to buy that used. There's a whole nother video on bringing that in and getting it set up. And since I shot that video, I spent time adjusting it and getting it to set just right. Plus I pressure washed it, cleaned it all up. It does need to get lights installed on it, but that's for another day. And I still got to mod my garage door so I can raise it all the way up when the door's shut. But this is, I can get a little bit higher than this. But what I like about this is when I got to do work down here, I can just reach out now and do it. Or this back area I still got to go into to see how bad that is. No, I can just, you know, it's right here, a lot nicer. However, cons is, yeah, some stuff's going to be my way. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower down the car, because today is cowl day, and see if the extra 5 inches that this raises up is going to be a problem or not. And if it is, I will unload the car, put the lift up, bring it in, and get busy. So we'll just see what happens. Anyway, I'm going to start up a time lapse. I want to make some headway here because I'm sick of doing metal work on this car. I want to get past that and start getting into the high build primer, start smoothing everything out, because I actually would like to paint this car this year, and it just hasn't been working out that way. But anyway, let's get busy. Now, one thing I did earlier, I've kind of grown to regret, is how I got this metal up and out of the way. I just made a bunch of cuts and bent it up. And I think if I were to do it all over again, I would have just gone ahead and just cut out the whole section, lifted it off there, done my metal work, put it back on, and re-welded it. I think I made myself a bunch of extra work. I don't know if that was the right approach or not. I mean, I'm no auto body expert, but I'm gonna, you know, I'm here, so I'm gonna keep doing this, but I'm going to, yeah. Maybe it was the wrong way to do it, so maybe not. I don't know. Maybe you could comment and let me know, because I am learning. Well, I got a lot of this cut out. I got all this cut out, the parts that were poking up cleared out, and I got a lot of the rust cleaned up as best as I could. I'm going to weld it up, neutralize the rust, and put a seam sealer on everything. Well, I bent up this little piece of metal here in the little Harbor Freight bender, cut it down, and I think this is going to work. There's a curve here in the cowl that I'm going to have to do a little trimming to allow for. But once I get that to set back in there pretty good, I think that's going to work. I got to cut one more for over there, but I got to do a little clearancing up here to get that to sink in there tight. And before I do that, I'm going to try to weld up these holes as best I can. But I think this is going to be all right. So here we go. Hey, it has been a minute since I've been able to update or put out a video, so hopefully I can get this one done this weekend. But work has been stupid busy, and I travel for my job, and so when you're out of town, you just can't get a lot done. I have been doing little things here and there, but like an hour, half an hour's worth of time, so I didn't really take any video of that. But a lot has happened. You can see I've got a lift and the car storage done. I've got a raised garage door, and I did get some work done on this. Let's take a look at what's going on. Well, you can stack 2 A-body cars in the 10-foot garage using the 4-post lifts, but any internet search will tell you that just works, and that's pretty much here. I don't, you know, if I had a 9.5-foot garage, I'm not quite sure that would work, but I've got a 10-foot 2-inch garage, and it just works. It's actually pretty nice. I can get up here and see that. Yeah, my big block leaks on the trunk. But I am glad it is working good, and I plan on using this a lot more in the future. I live in the PNW, and we're in the rainy season now, and it's nice to be able to have a place to put this car and not have it outside. I mean, it was in a secure area under cover, but it's not the same as actually being inside the garage. So it'll still go out here and there as I need to use the lift, or one of the drawbacks is you have to work around the thing. And yeah, that sucks, but I think the benefits outweigh the drawbacks here. So I think last I left, I was still just messing with the cowl. And what I've done since then is I've welded it all up. I sprayed rust neutralizer and sealer on it. I went over that with some primer, and then I put 3M seam sealer. It's the same stuff I used in the back of the car in the tail panel, and I sealed it all up. Because on these A bodies, you've got this piece of windshield trim here. It kind of sits just like that, and And what happens is this water runs down the glass, gets underneath there, and just kind of gets trapped, doesn't dry out. It gets up into the body panels and just rusts everything out. And that's why that's a problem. So I went and sealed it all up, primered on top of that. And since you're here, you repaint the dash. And so I'm sanding that down. I'll finish that up today. I will finish cleaning all this up and get it ready. And I'll try to get the windshield in. I don't know if I'll get that today or tomorrow. It is Thanksgiving, but I am heating up the polyurethane stuff or urethane stuff that's near the fire in the house. And this, I also sanded all down, and I just primered that. And I'm not sure if I'm going to paint that a nice semi-gloss black or the same color as the car. I'll worry about that later. I did get a windshield, though. I drove up to a place called Biscayne's Chevrolet. It's if you're in Western Washington, it's a little bit south of Olympia, and $200. And I got me a new windshield. And while I was there, I picked up a new, it's like a bumper filler panel to replace this one. And this one's really bad. I actually spent a lot of time pounding and straightening out, and I thought it'd probably be okay because it's hidden up behind the bumper, but it bugged me, and for $70, I just bought a new one, so I plan on putting on that. And I did a little work back here. You can see there's taillight housings on there. I've got 3 sets, and all 3 sets fit differently, and these are the ones that fit the best. This came off a car I pulled out of the junkyard a long time ago, and I think this one's actually original to the car. You can tell because maybe by the color and the really crappy paint job that went on it. This is a repaint as well, and I think these might be aftermarket ones. I got its mate back there piled up, but it didn't fit over there as good. But somebody did a reasonably decent job on the paint job here. Get that. There we go. There's a couple of my spares in there. Anyway, fitting this in shows my inexperience, because I didn't test fit the panels as I was putting it together with the tail panel, the quarter panels, because these shifted around a little bit. I did line it up against the trunk lid, but I kind of thought this would fall into place, and it doesn't. And so this part fits perfectly. I think the height is good. Down there is good. And here, there's a big difference. And what happens is this needs to push out a little bit and then probably be remounted to the tail panel. And I'm going to look at that. I don't really want to use filler or anything. If I have to break that down and redo it to make it right, I will. This side's a lot better. And once again, this top part fits just fantastic, and down here fits fantastic. But here it does poke out a little bit. Same story, but just not nearly as bad. And I'm debating if I just want to shave this housing down and blend it in. This is pretty thick, so I can do that. I don't know if I can really make that work and keep a nice body line like here. And I might just be overthinking it. I'll get to that. After the windshield's installed up there, I'll take this and I'll flip it all the way around, shove it back so I can have some good light to work on it. Because while this is okay, this is one of the drawbacks is, it's a big block and it drips maybe a little bit here and there, and I'd just rather not bang my head while working on that. But anyway, I'll set up the camera and I'll start sanding and working on the dash, and maybe I can get something done today. Well, since this project's snowballing, why don't we just snowball it a little bit more? So I pull off the front bumper filler and check out the radiator. So this is a 307 small block car from the factory. I'm not sure if it was a Power Glide or 3 on the tree. I had a Power Glide in it when I bought it, but it had a 3 on the tree steering column. Who knows? I didn't look into it. I don't care. But the difference is the radiator support. So this is a non-air conditioned car and small block, low performance and down radiator support. And you got a smaller radiator for it. It's actually narrower and less cores or something like that. But the difference is right here, this was cut out more on a higher performance car or a air conditioning car, and it opened it up more so you can see the rest of the radiator. You can just go right in and cut this out yourself and make it so without having to swap it all out. And I'm here. I mean, I got to drain the radiator and yank it so I can get in there and cut it out. But now is the best time to do it. So why not? And then while I'm in the middle of all that, I'll go ahead and finish painting up the dash. I'm waiting for the primer to dry, and then I'll start also seeing how high I want to set the windshield. So here we go. Well, I got this all painted up, and I managed to get a whole bunch of dust and grime and other junk into the wet paint, because instead of waiting for it to dry, I went ahead and cut this out. I think that's where it all came from. I got this piece out, flap this, cleaned it all up, and then give it a little Craigslist rebuild, and I think it turned out pretty good. And while I was doing that, I ripped off all this stuff from 1989. You know, you put that on your radiator hose and your heater hoses. Why I went with this color, I think they called it blue anodized or something. I'll never know. But I got all that taken off, the lines, and so I'm going to go ahead and put this back together. And on that, I think I'm just going to give that a day to really dry. I'll hit it with some like 400 sandpaper to get that junk back off, and I'll hit it with one more coat, and then here comes the windshield. And then I will start heading towards the back. And we got a windshield. So Cecil came over, we test fit it, we gooped it all up, and we set it in. I'm real happy with how it turned out. And I tell you what, this is the first time I have done a windshield and I set this in front of the fireplace and heat it up. That is the only way to go. It made it so much better. My wrists aren't cramped up, my hands aren't pained for days, and that's the only way. I don't care if it's 110 degrees outside, I'm heating it up, even if it takes the microwave or something. So I've got the new bumper filler panel there, and there's the old one. You can tell that thing's been through a war. I spent a lot of time straightening that up, pounding it, getting rid of all the kinks, and it just wasn't going to work out. So I picked up this new one for a good price. I think it was $70 from Biscay's. And that's going to go on, but when I test fitted this piece that goes behind here and sits up on the radiator. Anyway, this piece is also all bent up. So I spent some time straightening it out, and the problem is it sticks out too far, and that's causing this to kind of pivot back and forth. I need it to go in about a half inch or so. It's not very bad. I can get that out. So I'm going to spend a little bit more time tweaking, and I might even weld up a couple of splits here and get that set up. And of course, I ran into another problem, and it has to do with the core support. Looks like somebody tweaked it up, and now I got to figure out how to fix it. I'll show you what I found. Okay, so this is one of the supports that, I don't know, holds everything in the middle, like the grill and everything. And I needed this to go back about a half an inch more so everything would line up. And I was looking at it, I've been spending a lot of time bending and tweaking this, and I got it where I like it, but it needs to go about a half an inch more. So I started looking at the core support, and I can sit here and wiggle it. And so I can put my foot on it and push it where I want. But if you look up here on the end, I don't know if you can see that, but it's actually pulled away. The welds have broken, and I can sit there, and I can tweak it. And the same thing on the other side. The welds have pulled away, and I can tweak that as well. And I'm starting to see a couple other things, like this bracket is tweaked up. This is obviously not where it needs to be. And if I look harder at this, I got a weird little deformation here, like maybe the thing's been bent, and I've got a similar kind of one over on this side. So what I'm thinking is at one time they pulled this car through the backyard or something, and they actually wrapped maybe a tow rope around this bottom of this core support and give it a yank, and that ripped it forward, caused this damage, and also crunched this up and all the problems. And so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift the radiator out of the way, drop the transmission cooler down. I'm going to take a ratchet strap around here, pull it back to where I need it. I'll test fit all that, and then I will clean this all up, hammer this into place, and re-weld it and try to put it back together. Well, I'm glad I did that. I pulled that back. I hammered a bunch, welded it in, and I hid the crime with a flat disc and paint. You can hardly tell what happened. And after I did that, this set right into place. It just fit like a glove. It's all bolted in, nice and strong. Very happy about that. And it is pouring rain outside because this is a PNW, and it will pour rain until probably June of next year. So I'm going to spin it around another time, and then I'm going to tackle the taillights and see what that entails. But I really made a lot of progress this video, and I'm happy about it. So hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it doesn't take me another 3 months to get it out again. But you never know. That's how life it is. Anyway, have a good one. Thanks.